everyone. You're listening to episode 63 of the Fifth Meeple Board Game Podcast. Thanks so much for inviting us to your table. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fifth Meeple Board Game Podcast. We're a group of diverse friends who offer our takes on the latest and greatest board games to hit our table. I'm your host, Daniela, the goofy noob, and today I'm joined by the collector.
Hey, this is David.
The intellectual introvert.
Hi, everyone. This is Chris.
And the deluxeifier.
Hello, it's Pete.
Today we're going Dutch. Dutch auction, that is. Today we look at two gateway games that incorporate a price-reducing market draft. We'll start in Carvania, trading gems for diadems as we travel the long road in Century Golem. Then we find our crush with a palette and brush as we complete our mini masterpieces in Canvas. And finally, because we just can't help ourselves, we'll do the double Dutch as we pitch these games against each other in our ultimate showdown, the Battle of the Funnest. But before we bring this battle to life, David, what's our topic of discussion for today?
Yeah, so I thought we'd do something a little bit fun and interactive with our audience today. So I have given out our list of episodes that we have done before, and I'm going to go on and read you guys and see who can kind of guess first what game I'm talking about by reading you the one-star reviews for certain games. Okay?
So we have to guess the game.
Yeah, you can guess the game, and they'll get the clues will get progressively closer to the game as we go on. So they'll start kind of generic, but if you want to throw out a guess, you can. And it's just going to be, if you're playing along with us, it's just going to be looking at the list of episodes that we put out, and it's going to be one of those games on that list. So let's go.
Are we just shouting our answers out?
Yeah, you can just shout it out, Chris, if you want. Or if you want to raise a hand, I can call on you. I don't care. Whatever you guys want to do. We're not playing for points in there. We're just playing for fun.
Okay.
Okay, so this is all one-star reviews. So here we go. Horrible hodgepodge of mechanics, no interaction, quote-unquote modern Euro, basic trend-chasing abomination.
Nice.
Anybody have a guess? And these are all games we like around this table.
Oh, okay.
I think I remember you reading this one off. I got to think about it for a minute.
Okay, I'll give you your second clue. A light medium weight Euro optimizer with a dash of deck building, worker placement, and hand management. At 20 to 30 minutes per player, inoffensive, best targeted at family and casual gamers. Decision space isn't deep or wide enough. Low interaction, only minor blocking, or buying items others want. Replay just won't hold up. That's your second. And you said Bruges?
Yeah.
It is not Bruges.
Okay.
That's a good guess. We do love that game.
Dang. There's another one I'm looking for, but I can't find. I don't think
Is it
it's on
Clank?
this list.
It is not Clank. That is
Oh.
a good guess, though, too. I think this next clue is really going to give somebody and push them over the edge.
Agricola?
It's not Agricola either. Any guesses over there, Chris?
I'm thinking Aquatica, but I want to hear the next one.
Okay. The next number one-star review from BGG. Better build our decks so that we can properly sweep these ruins of all their treasure.
Sweep these ruins of all their treasure.
Why can't I?
Is it Clank?
It is still not Clank. Okay, you're going to really get it.
Lost Ruins of Arnak.
It is Lost Ruins of
Whoa.
Arnak. I didn't even get to read the best one. But yes, it is Lost Ruins of Arnak, so if that is what you had, that's great. We're going to play one more time just for kicks and giggles. So
boy.
here we go. Just another dry, boring game with no theme. Nothing new or creative. If you need help falling asleep, this is the game for you. Any guesses?
Kingsburg.
Oh, wow, wait, it just came. No, it is not Kingsburg.
I like Kingsburg, so
Okay, I'll keep going.
I'm just thinking of what other people would think.
It says, if you want to experience shared prosperity better, play Terra Mystica series. If you want to play a real Euro, try Arc Nova or Dune Imperium. If you want to play a serious talk game, try Twilight Imperium 4. Combining all the above mechanisms is like the result of having a drunken designer. One-star review.
I'm at a loss.
Okay,
I was
good.
thinking maybe Brass, but I'm going to hold.
You're going to hold? Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Next clue. A convoluted Euro game that is so much fun, I'd rather have major surgery than play it again.
Ooh.
Unless you enjoy heavy number crunching and complicated rules, play something else.
Heavy number crunching.
Nucleum?
It's not Nucleum. Next clue. I don't understand why this game is so highly rated. It is the dullest worker placement game I have ever played. And the colors are terrible.
Colors are
What's that
terrible.
brown game we played? Like Orleans or something.
We played El Grande. That's pretty brown, but
Okay.
Is it Lords of Waterdeep?
Oh, it's not Lords of Waterdeep. That is a good guess, though.
No.
Okay, another one-star review. This one gets juicier. It says, I know people really value this game highly. I tried to play this game and I just hated it. Why does this game need a multiple phases? It just makes your brain have a very hard time for no benefit. I played many other Euro games, usually understand the complex rules, but even a super heavy game like TI made much more sense than this. This game somehow made no sense. I think this game single-handedly turned my partner off board games for the rest of her life.
Dang. Earth?
No, it's not Earth.
Wingspan. Ticket to Ride?
Last clue. This game is about businessmen who exploited workers.
We are doing terrible on this. Businessmen that exploited workers.
I don't align with the 1 stars.
I'll officially say brass.
It is Brass Birmingham. You should have guessed a long time ago, Chris. Yes, it is. Man, 1-star reviews. Anyways, thought we'd have a little bit of fun. Maybe it made you laugh. Hopefully.
That's funny. People are crazy.
Well, but you don't have to like what you don't like, I guess. But I also don't know if you have to give it a 1. That was fun, David. I appreciate that.
No problem.
All right. Thanks, David. Those are our thoughts and our answers on some of the 1-star reviews that David read. But we'd like to know what you guys say. Did any of you guys get it right out there? If you'd like to let us know, send us an email at thefifthmeeple@gmail.com and or follow us on social media or in our BGG Guild, or check us out at our website at fifthmeeple.com. In addition to subscribing to our show, one of the best ways to help us grow is to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen. And if you do, we might just read it here on a future episode. All right, guys, I see something huge coming over that hill, so let's go check it out. Century Golem Edition.
Century Golem Edition is a 2 to 5 player card drafting, deck building, and hand management game set in the world of Carvania, where you travel the Golem Road to deliver crystals to the far reaches of the world. At the start of the game, 2 card markets are established consisting of 5 point cards, which provide endgame points, and 6 merchant cards, which can be drawn into your hand. Each player receives 2 starting cards in their hand and a few crystals based on their starting position. On your turn, one option is to play a merchant card from your hand. These cards either allow you to gain new crystals, upgrade some of your crystals to a higher grade, or trade some of your crystals for others. At the end of your turn, however, you're limited to a maximum of 10 crystals. Alternatively, you may choose to claim a new merchant card from the market. If you do, the left one is free, but if you prefer a different card, you must place 1 gem on each card to the left of the one that you draft. If the card you draft has gems on it, you take those into your supply, again honoring the 10 gem limit. The drafted card becomes part of your hand. All cards to the right of the chosen card are slid to the left, and a new merchant card is placed in the rightmost position. You can also choose to rest on your turn, taking all of your previously played merchant cards back into your hand. And finally, you can use your turn to claim a point card, which are the cards with the golems on them. In this case, you need to pay the exact gems shown on the point card, then you take it and place it face down in front of you, earning yourself game end points, and if you choose one of the 2 leftmost point cards, you also get a coin that's also worth game end points. The market is then refilled similar to the merchant cards. Once one player claims their 5th point card or their 6th point card in a 2 to 3 player game, the game is over at the end of that round. Players earn points for their point cards, coins, and non-yellow gems, and the player with the most points wins the game and controls Golem Road for the next century. Century Golem Edition was designed by Emerson Matsuuchi and was first published in 2017 by Plan B Games.
All right, if you're wondering, no, that's not Barry White. That's just Chris. He is an octave lower today. Voices on the wear and tear, I guess.
Yeah.
Who are you screaming at all day, Chris?
I spent the last 2 weekends moving my daughter around.
Oh.
And I guess
A
bossing people around.
lot of wear
during
and
the
tear.
move.
There
Yeah,
you go.
I don't know.
All right. All right. So, guys, Century Golem Edition. Let's talk about some of the things in this game that are really nice. I mean, this is one of the first games that I played that really opened up that trade harvest kind of market game for me to help me understand it. And so I think this is a really great game to intro people in the gaming world to that kind of setup, that kind of mechanism. And I just remember I really enjoyed this game. I do have it. I do own it. I've taught it to some other people during some game nights and stuff. So it's a really nice, I think, intro game to that kind of mechanism.
Yeah, really easy to learn, I think. Like you said, it's a really good introduction game. And in the game itself is relatively quick. Symbology is straightforward. So if you are teaching it to someone, there's not a whole lot they have to learn about it. I'm trying to think, is there even any symbology
gems,
in the
colors.
game? Yeah, just the gems, and that's about it. Maybe, I'm not colorblind, so I don't know. Maybe that's one issue with the game if someone has trouble with those. But other than that, I think it's pretty much open to anybody to play and jump right in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the gems were nice components. Also, I think we played with, were they metal coins?
Yeah, they're metal coins, yep.
Is that standard in the game?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. That's what I like about it.
Oh, man. I think overall, too, just that exchanging, I think when having taught with new people, kind of one of the things I'll get into in the second half of this is just people really enjoy exchanging in that, oh, I can trade these two and get the green, or I can trade these and get the blue, and then everybody's trying to get that pink because it's really nice looking on the table and stuff. So it kind of makes you feel like you're doing something that people like. Chris likes the pink or something. Yeah.
Trying to get that pink, baby.
Yeah. So
that's got to be edited
it's
out.
satisfying.
Yeah. In all seriousness, components really make a difference when I'm playing the game, and they are nice. They're easy to pick up. Again, the coins are fairly weighty, and that's part of that exchange. You actually feel like you're doing something rather than just moving, maybe a token that's on a board up and some down. It really makes a difference. And I mentioned that in some other games that we talked about, that I really prefer components when you can do it, and not when the game gives you that opportunity to do it and it's not too much overhead, especially in a simpler game.
David, how about you? I mean, you taught me this game, kind of introduced me to it at least, and I'm sure you've taught it infinite amount of times.
First thing I always tell people is it only has a 1-page rule book, so it's just front and back, and I really do love that. It's not too intimidating for new gamers, kind of like you guys were all saying. I feel that that's a really good thing. I do think the decision space, even for maybe your more experienced gamers, there's still a game to be played here, and there's still decisions to be made. As far as, are you going to keep gathering and kind of building your deck, or when are you going to stop that engine building that you can do and actually try to go for the golems themselves and for points? And I think that's an interesting decision, because some people you'll see, they'll build like this huge stack in their hand of cards.
Yeah.
But sometimes they get to spend them all, sometimes they don't. And you'll see other people that do a vastly different strategy where they're just trying to trade in as fast as possible and not collect many cards. And I think that they're both viable strategies, but I think that that's an interesting decision space that, especially newer gamers that are kind of new to our hobby, it gives them something that's vastly different than maybe anything they've played before, as far as like a Monopoly or like a Sorry or something. It's a vastly kind of good introduction into what a modern board game today I think can be.
Yeah, I think along with that, I think that mechanism too to reset, you really have to learn when to do that choice, and when you should maybe stop collecting cards and start, to your point, when are you going to start buying golems, and when are you going to start like actually building your thing? Because you got to get 5 to win. At some point, you need to start saying, all right, I'm not going to be able to build these golems, but maybe I'm going to build something else or take a card. So yeah, I think there is some good decision space there, as you kind of were mentioning, David.
The restriction with only having 10 crystals really makes a difference too, because there's so many games where for me, it's frustrating when people can just take as many resources as they want, and you don't have that decision. You just hoard those resources and then spit it all out. Where this one, you do have to plan a little bit. You can't retain everything. So when you're looking to purchase those golems out in the market, you actually have to have a plan on how are you going to get those maybe 5, maybe even more crystals than that in the right combinations to be able to purchase that card and do it before somebody else is. So another thing is watching what other people are doing, because you can get cards sniped out from you, and that's part of the game, which is kind of fun. At least it can be if you're on the sniping side.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best parts of the game, where okay, you've got this card that you're working towards, and then you realize somebody else is working towards it as well. And can you get there first? What are they trying to do? Can you remember what cards they had? And then knowing at the right point when you might have to cut bait and say, okay, he's going to get there, and I have to, and maybe at the same time saying, okay, I see I'm battling him. Maybe I have to set myself up for option B or something like that. That's a nice little puzzle in what's a relatively straightforward game.
Yeah, we were playing on BGA the other day, and we both had the same amount of crystals, and I'm thinking, well, I can take 2 turns and get the crystals I need. And I don't know, Chris is very, very close to getting the crystals that he needs, but am I going to get that one step ahead of him? And as soon as I took my turn, I knew for you to get those crystals, then I was going to be able to, because I had them in hand. So it is a fun little race, and they're kind of little sprints at times. So not too bad.
Yeah, and you were talking about the trading of gems, which is pretty much all this is. But a lot of super more complicated games really, you boil it down to the same thing. Okay, how do I get money so that I can buy this resource, and I can get this ability, which I can then convert to that resource to get what I ultimately want? And that's really what Century in any version is. It's just how do I convert these resources from one to another, going up and down that ladder to ultimately get what I want. But it's all simplified into all I'm doing is trading gems one direction or another.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess let's transition to maybe some of the cons of the game or some of the things that just bogged us down or whatever. And Chris, I'm just going to jump right off of that. I've seen people get excited in this game because they're collecting and they're trading, but they never make a move, right? So they can get kind of caught up in that. And I think that's important to know. I think one of the things is again, as I kind of just stated, it's a fun mechanism. It's a fun thing to learn, but at the same time, you got to know when to kind of cut it and go for the things that you want. To Pete, your point, there is a little bit of a sprint. There's a race at some point as well. So just you got to know and learn when to do that. Trading gems is fun, but you got to like make something of those at some point too.
Yeah, or I could see someone new saying, "Oh man, there's a 20-point card. I gotta work towards that." And there's a 17-point card that they could have gotten. Hey, it's 3 points.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You're wasting how many turns? So
Yeah.
there's a little trap there. But now, Pete, you were talking about, and maybe it was you or too, David, about hey, you can race towards you can do different strategies, and someone can just, I'm just going to buy a bunch of cards. That's when the game becomes not fun to me, when someone takes that strategy of I'm just going to, there's a 6-pointer, I'm going to get the 6-pointer, I'm going to get the 8-pointer, to where, I understand one option is a race game. It's just for me, that's when that game just doesn't become fun for me. It takes away some of that puzzle of how can I make this work because I don't have enough time to do it. So I know it's a valid strategy, and there was one person we used to play with all the time. That's what they did, and to me, that just it's just not as fun.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there, Chris. I think it's just that the good news is that it's only like a 20 to 30 minute game,
Correct.
so you can just run it back. But I do think that different groups will play this game differently. If you get a group that really likes to kind of build things, then this game can maybe take a little bit longer, but it's a little bit more fun too, I think, as well. So yeah, good point there.
Yeah, I'll go back to the game that we just played on BGA. I had 5 cards, and that was all I had. I had my 2 starter cards, and I picked up 3 other cards, and I ran my engine off of that, really being as efficient as I can, because every time that you buy a card from not the golems, but the other cards, you're essentially losing a turn of getting tokens, and not tokens, but gems. So as you're trying to, if you can craft those cards or get some of those cards, or some of those cards come through and you can grab them, then fantastic. The one thing I'd say in the 2-player game, I didn't see much changing in that river as I wasn't drawing cards. So, and that was another reason why I didn't grab any other cards, because they really didn't do anything more for me than I already had.
Well, especially in the 2-player game.
Yeah.
Right? There's only one other person that might be able to move that and give you another option to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So probably not good at 2-player, right?
I think it was still okay, but it was
move the
just...
cards.
Yeah, who's gonna take a card just to move
Yeah.
the river? You're not, and so at some point it just becomes okay. I'm gonna have to make do with what I've got.
Right.
Interesting.
Vincent.
Vincent, yeah, I mean that actually works pretty well. We'll
I
talk
don't
about
think
that
I've
in the
ever
next
played
one.
this at 2 players, so
Yeah.
that's interesting intake.
I'm just gonna say it. The theme is dumb.
What theme?
Exactly. Well, the Golem Road. There is no Golem Road. You're not collecting and doing these gems. The theme is dumb. And I know it's a rethemed version of Century Spice Road. I think you told me one time, David, that it sold much better than that. It's like they changed it and put golems on it, and it started selling even better. But if you just read what is the game about? It's dumb. And again, it doesn't matter. No, it works. But
I mean, you could have your beige, bland, Euro, and do
Yeah.
Century Spice, but I think the gems are cooler. So, I mean, I don't even know what the theme is, but I do like the artwork.
Well, golems are like clay, right?
Yeah, I know.
So
I mean, I know what they are, but I don't know what.
they can be
the
clay.
point
In
is.
these cases, they're gem golems, and so
Yeah.
golems are constructs, right?
I would retheme it as food and have those ingredients to be like baking a cake or baking donuts or something like that. I think that would be a better theme
This
than
isn't
always
Grand
done that for you.
Hotel Austria.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like for me, the game is what it is. I think I was reading some reviews on this too as well, David. And I think people who are rating it like very low were just like, it's like too easy and blah blah. I mean, it is what it is. It's not. I think it's not supposed to be harder than what it is. It's weighted 1.7 weight on BGG, so it's it is what it is. I think I wouldn't make it more than what people are trying to make it. It's a light game.
Wow, coming from the noob, that's wow. You've really matured now.
I've changed. No, I mean, I just think, like, again, some people are like, oh, it's too easy. And it's like, yeah, but that's what the game's supposed to be. It's
Some games
an intro
are okay
game.
to be easy.
Yeah,
Right.
it's all right.
That's okay.
You don't always need a brain burner.
When you first played this game, Daniela, because I know you got introduced into the hobby, and this was one of the first games that I kind of introduced you to. I mean, what's your take on it from then to like now? Because you played a lot of games now.
I enjoy, for what we were saying, a 30-minute game, bringing this out, because I know it's going to be a little bit longer when I'm teaching other people. I know I've taught my sister, brother-in-law, my mom, and it's a starter for them because they don't do this. They are used to the Monopolies and the Scrabbles of the world and stuff. So I think it's a great intro game to get them to learn some of these different mechanisms, and they all have enjoyed it. I don't think I've ever taught it to someone and they were like, I don't want to ever play that again. So.
Yeah, good thing you didn't teach Pete. No, I'm just messing.
One day, the student will become the teacher. Probably not. All right. Anything else, guys?
I just have one
Chris?
last nitpick, and that is if you're not playing on BJ, you're playing at a table. Don't sit at the spot that'll be right by the decks, because especially
That's
early in
your
the game, that's
responsibility.
going to be your job. You can't concentrate on what you're doing because you're just constantly flipping over cards and sliding cards down.
Yeah,
I think the last game we played.
Power Grid game really got to you, didn't it?
It did. But it wasn't even me last time. The last game we played together at this table, it was Pete. And I just felt like, hey, he's constantly being interrupted to slide things down. And hey, it's not that complicated of a game, but you do have to pay attention to what you're doing and what's going on.
That happened to you recently in a game we were playing. I can't think of what game it was. And you're like, I just was turning the cards the whole time.
Well, Rebirth, he was like moving the things around.
There's wondrous creatures, too. Every time
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
move
That
and
was a
wipe
good
and
one.
move.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, take us over to the Collector's Corner, David. Tell us more about this edition.
Yeah, so right now you can find this readily available at a lot of stores. On Amazon, it's going for $38.98. It's so popular now, it's actually at Walmart for about $33 at the time of this. But if you're looking at it as a used copy, you can find this used probably on the market anywhere around $20 is what I'm seeing right now. So it's holding about half its value, which is, I think, for what you get as far as like components, especially if you're not into modern board gaming, this is definitely something that you could buy as a gift around the holidays as they're coming up here soon. It's got really good quality components and it's got metal coins, so it might get them into another addiction that Pete has. But it's a path down a dark road.
We're getting
slippery
in-house.
slope there.
All right. Thank you for that. And let's just round the table with final thoughts, starting back with you, David.
I still really like this game for what it is. I think my tastes have matured now beyond that. But I still don't mind teaching it. It still has some things in there. I actually don't win this game very often, so I haven't really found an efficient way yet to win this particular game. But I just think it's a cool thing when, to me, it's like if you could have a game where the rules are just front and back on one sheet of paper, I think more games should take its cue from that and, design stuff that's just really efficient at kind of what it does that I can teach very easily. And I do like that about it. And there's a little bit of meat on the bone still, so I do appreciate it. Passing it over to Pete.
Yeah, definitely an entry-level game. I wouldn't quite honestly want to play it anymore just because it's very simple. And as much as I like streamlined, boiled down mechanics and games, this one's just a little too simple for me. But other than that, I think it's great for learning how to do that resource conversion, how to, plan for a little bit of deck crafting. So, as a gateway game and bringing somebody in, I think is a good stepping stone, at least to introduce them to some new mechanics that maybe they're not used to. Chris?
I like heavy games. I also like lighter games, so it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. This isn't necessarily my favorite light game, but I enjoy it. And what's interesting is when we were talking about starting to play it again, I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I really want to play that game. But then when we're playing, I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good, and I enjoy it. Again, I'm not going to ask for it. If it's on the table, I'll play it. I also think that you were talking about the gems and the pieces and low price. Might be a good game to if you're trying to get maybe someone younger who likes the gems and something. In the kid category, but it's has enough development to be able to figure out the resource management and that swapping, but that might be enamored by gems and coins and all that. It might be a way to bring your youngin into your obsession as well.
Yeah, that jumping off of Chris's point, I was going to say the same thing. I think for families with some younger teens, I think this is a great game. I think for the price too, around the holidays, you might want to pick up the game as well, and maybe just for Thanksgiving, Christmas, anything that you got coming up. It's a great little game to throw on the table, 30, 45 minutes, and be done. Enjoy your time with people you love. Well, guys, before we get too abstract in our thoughts, let's brush over to our thoughts on Canvas.
Canvas is a 1 to 5 player card drafting, card layering, set collection game that has you crafting mini masterpieces as you compete with other artists at a prestigious art festival. Canvas centers around a deck of transparent art cards, each containing an illustration at the top, a partial name, and color swatches at the bottom. There are 5 different swatch locations, each one a different color, and each card has 2 swatches present, overlaid with some combination of 4 different symbols and bonus icons. A market of 5 art cards is present throughout the game, and each player starts with 4 inspiration tokens. On your turn, if you have less than 5 cards in your hand, you may choose to draft an art card. If you do, the left one is free, but if you prefer a different card, you must place 1 inspiration token on each card to the left of the one that you draft. If the card you draft has inspiration tokens on it, you take those into your supply. The drafted card becomes part of your hand, all cards to the right of the chosen card are slid to the left, and a new art card is placed in the rightmost position. Alternatively, as long as you have at least 3 art cards in your hand, you can choose to complete a painting. You must take this option if you have 5 cards in your hand. To complete a painting, you take 3 of the cards from your hand and stack them on top of each other in whatever order you desire. Order is important because some swatches will cover others, determining which symbols actually show on your painting. Slide those cards into a transparent sleeve along with the background card, and your painting is complete. As soon as you complete a painting, compare it to each of the 4 scoring cards being used for the game. Each scoring card shows a condition related to the visible swatches in your painting. If your painting meets those conditions, take a ribbon of the designated color, red, blue, green, or purple. Some icons may also allow you to take 1 or more silver ribbons. Once all players have completed 3 paintings, the game ends. You score for each ribbon color based on how many of each color you've collected. And the player with the most points wins Best in Show and throws a can of tomato soup on everyone else's paintings. Canvas was designed by Jeff Chin and Andrew Nerger and was first published in 2021 by R2I Games.
All right. Thanks, Chris. As we start talking about the things that we really like about this game, I think I really want to give a shout out to the designers of the game, and whether it's, Jeff and Andrew who did this. I think the overall, the art and the theme and the production, I guess the components of the game are really incredible. Chris, I think they copied you from Word Garden.
I think Canvas was out first, so.
Really? Oh, man. Anyways, the layering aspect of this game, I really think is just ingenious, and being able to move cards front and back and kind of see what points you're going to get and the ribbons that you're going to get is really quite wonderful. It's just one of those aspects of a game that makes you interested in it, because of those reasons.
Yeah, those transparent cards, they're clever, they're really well done. It actually continues to surprise me how few games are using them. Mm-hmm. They've been around for quite some time. You mentioned Word Garden, so having designed something with them, though I also understand, hey, it's not easy to do that and figure all that and figure out to make something work. Maybe that's why, but I thought Canvas did it extremely well. And even that the paintings name themselves based on how they're layered, each one has a partial name on it, and those names make sense, right? With what's ultimately in that painting. You look at that painting, you're like, yeah, I can see where that was named. That is really, really well done.
Chris, did you take any inspiration from this game or no?
I had never seen Canvas.
Okay.
Awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like the game because it's one of the it's relaxing to me.
I literally put that down.
Did you?
I'm like, it's not stressful.
Yeah, when we're playing it's a game, but I don't feel like I'm in super competitive mode where I'm actually trying to create a painting and trying to make it work. And I do like the puzzle aspect of, this particular tile or card or overlay will give me these icons and tokens, and I got to get that mental picture in my head. If I take this one, how will that actually look? Because you got to kind of layer it in your head. You can do it with the cards you have, but when you're looking at the market, and I think we did this before. Oh, can I look at this real quick and kind of layer it over?
To see how it fits.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem doing that, but it is harder to do when you're playing on BGA as we were doing, because I'm like, oh man, which one goes first? And I was trying to remember, okay, well, this one will overlay this one, and so, but to the main point, it does feel like a relaxing type of game. I don't feel as stressed playing it, trying to get the most points that I can, because at the end of it, after you have at least 5 cards, and then you're going to create something, and it could look cool. Yeah. The way you do it. So I like that about it. That
was one of my points too. It was like, it's kind of like a nice non-stressful game where even if your points suck and you get no ribbons and you feel accomplished, like, I made this really nice painting and I like it, so what does it matter? So that's funny.
Yeah, it goes all the way. Production value on this, kind of what you guys were saying, it goes all the way to the box. On these boxes, they're designed to be hung on the wall. I don't know if I've ever seen another board game that has that built mechanic in there. There's actually a spot where you can place a hook in the back, and you can actually just hang them on the wall. And they actually, if you buy the expansions and some other stuff, they actually add like to the scene. So it's kind of cool on how they all kind of fit together and how they puzzle that out. But I do agree with you. I think it is, what we call, I think that you're seeing this rise too of cozy games. And I think this would probably fit in that category even before cozy games were kind of a thing. But I do think this is a little bit more heads down kind of gameplay though, versus heads up gameplay, because you're just kind of doing your own thing. But I do think it's cool every time that, like kind of Chris was saying, the painting, the names on the painting, they reflect kind of what's in there, and that's kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean it's getting close to fall here. I'm all down for cozy games. That's great.
You talked about the box. It's also well known, maybe notorious for the fact that the name is not on the box, at least on the front. I think it's on one side of this box that we have, and that's it. So,
yeah.
I've talked a lot about downtime on this podcast and how I don't like it. I don't like sitting here with nothing to do. I think even at a 5-player count, I have not experienced a feeling of, man, there's a lot of downtime in this game, right? Partly because I think there's quick turns, but also partly because in between those turns, I'm layering cards on top of each other. I'm looking at what might be there, trying not to look at it so Pete doesn't take it, though if I see a card that will actually work, and panicking. But I have never felt like, man, I'm just sitting here doing nothing in this game.
I think that's one of the things, though, about the top, the ways to get the ribbons. I don't know what the different cards are that you're working towards. Is even Chris, when we were playing, like I didn't know what you were really working towards. I could have guessed maybe like one of them, but if you're working towards multiple ribbons, I wouldn't have been able to probably comprehend. Like, were you able to look at other people's what they were going for?
No, and I because there's nothing you can do about it other than them taking it. Maybe you could say, well, maybe I wouldn't take that. But once you take a card until your next turn, there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm always trying to get multiple ribbons if I can. I mean,
of course.
But I'm looking at, okay, what couple of cards might work, but I really can't do a whole lot until my turn comes around.
Yeah.
But I can look at what I need, and start to convince myself, unless something new comes out, that's the card I'm taking and go.
Yeah, this game discourages hate drafting a little bit because once you take that card, you basically are going to use it, or it's going to be one of your last 2 cards that you play.
Yeah, it's just taking up space at that point. And that happened to me playing against you, Danielle. I took a card. I was like, well, crap. I know I don't need it, and it's just dead weight.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing about that market out there, you might be looking for a little sunshines or whatever, and those are part of the scoring mechanisms. As you see those cards come out, they do get more valued than other ones. The game we were playing, one of the scoring conditions is to have 1 sun, and there was a card out there that had 2 suns on it in the same spot. I was like, I don't want that card at all. You might be able to overlay it with something else, but you have to look to see what's coming. Are you going to have that paint color to be able to overlay it, and is that even going to give you the points? So there's some strategy to it, and again, trying to figure out how those mental pictures work in your head.
Yeah, if you're hate drafting, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
I think the only time that I've seen where I'm picking a card that maybe I don't have huge use for is when, okay, it's got 3 of those inspiration tokens on it. And I want to give myself some freedom to get what I need coming up to the end. So I might take one that maybe I can use, but I know those inspiration tokens are going to help me.
Has anybody ever played at 5 at this game?
I am not. I played max 4.
I'd just be interested to see how fast like the cards like turn over, and maybe if anybody's like listening and they've played at 5, just be interested to see like, can you even plan in advance, or
I mean, we played at 4, and so before that turn comes around, at least 3 of those cards, unless someone's making a painting, 3 of those cards are swapping out.
Okay. It's like one of those games where like I don't even look at the cards in advance because they could all my plans could be destroyed like 2 or 3 times in advance. So. All right. Well, what about some of the frustrations maybe of this game that kind of just makes it feel like a finger painting?
My first frustration was kind of what you just said, that at lower player counts, there is minimal card turnover.
Yeah.
And so you're not seeing anywhere near as many cards. Danielle and I played a 2-player game online. We played once, I think, without the Da Vinci variant, or what was it called? Yeah, Da Vinci variant. And then once with it. And what that Da Vinci variant does is it will randomly take out one of the cards from the row, and so you at least get more turnover. But like a 2 players, with or without it, when you would make a painting, I don't get any turnover. So I'm just taking a card. It's your turn. You make a painting. Maybe I'll get 1 turnover from Da Vinci, and that's it. There's really you got to, which maybe it makes it a little tighter and just maybe a low scoring because you're not going to have as many opportunities.
Right.
Most of the cards you're seeing on this turn are what you saw on the last turn.
Yep.
Right. So just make do with what you got.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I was going to say one of the negatives I feel like is that I don't know if there's a reason why you would ever not have 5 cards in your hand until you play a painting. I I don't know why you wouldn't give yourself as many options as you can, and then the game forces you to go ahead and make a painting. But why would you not, do that? And I feel like that's kind of being force-fed onto the player. That
I think if there's no cards down there that to the dead weight thing, and you say, if I take one of these, I'm not going to do anything with it. But that's the only case. I agree, but you did that a couple of times, Danielle, in the game we played. Yeah, I had like 2 turns left, and you were all done with your paintings, and then I'm getting no card turnover when I'm trying to finish my painting. I agree with you, but I think I can play devil's advocate and find a couple cases where you might do that. But for the most part, I agree. Why wouldn't I take another card and just see what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like when I play this game, I know we're using that word cozy, but I do feel like this game is a little bit more on rails, and there's not, everybody's going to make 3 paintings no matter what you do, and there's no other elements into it. It is a game, and I see that, but it's definitely not. I would say if you're a very competitive person, it's probably not necessarily the game for you, because sometimes it's just very much what's in that system that's out on that board of cards in the river, and and how much agency you have to go get it just depends on how many tokens you were able to gather up sometimes, and sometimes it's not many. You just don't have a lot of choices. I feel like sometimes when I play this game, I feel like it's a little bit more on rails.
When does that killer card come out? I think it might have. I don't remember who I was playing with either Daniela or
it was.
Pete.
I think it was me one time because you're like, oh, that guy took it.
Well, there was one of the scoring conditions was have a sun next to one of those squares. And there was a card that came out that had a sun and a square on the same swatch and a square right next to it. So it was like, this card was made for it. And to me, whoever got that just probably got 2 ribbons without even trying. So there can be some of that too. And again, what can you do about it if it comes out or it's sitting in the last position, you can't afford it, and someone can get it for free?
Well, and I think to combine those 2 things that we're kind of talking about is it's very hard to get ribbons to line up and match up if the cards aren't turning over. So at some point, I think the first game, like really towards the middle or end, I was like, I can't make anything here. So that was kind of like, it's pretty, but like I'm getting like 2 ribbons, and you're like, that's not cool.
But and one of the things maybe I've learned on the last several plays is that sometimes the silver ribbons are not just a consolation. But if there's a silver ribbon there, and you get another red ribbon and it gets you 3 points, you get the right silver ribbon, it may get you 4 or 6 for that painting. That may be better than getting that one, especially late. So
interesting.
You might have to shift.
Yeah, I have it listed down here as one of my notes. This almost feels more like an activity rather than a game. There's some games that we play at work that we just do to have fun, like a just one or something like that, where the score may not really matter as much. Again, there's scoring in it, and that is a component of it. But for the reasons that we talked about, just with the limited ability to really affect your score, you're really influenced by what comes out and what's available. You just may not score well. So to me, I kind of take it more of, this is an event. We're going to play together, and we're going to have fun. We're going to make art. And at the end of the game, we'll see who did the best. Who maybe got lucky or who came up with something that really scored well.
I could see you playing this at work. Would you? Do you think, Pete?
They might play this at work
once.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
The last thing I'll say is I've seen, and I'm not sure why, but I've seen multiple people struggle to, at least initially, grasp how the scoring works with the ribbons. And I guess maybe my caveat here is then if you're playing with someone new, make sure they understand how the scoring works. Even if you do, even if it is on rails or whatever, you don't have to score everything in one painting. It's not 4 points for the second ribbon. It's 4 points total if you have 2 ribbons, whatever the case may be. Make sure that whoever you're playing with, I guess that's true for any game, make sure people understand how they're scoring. But multiple people I've seen, I haven't grasped that yet. And in the second or third game, then they understand how the scoring goes.
Okay.
Obviously, no one else has seen that.
Well, I had... online do it for me. So
yeah,
I was just playing around with the way you move the cards around. I was like, it looks like enough ribbons. So
that's what I was doing. It did make it a little bit easier on BGA to see what
combinations,
what the points are, because if I remember correctly, when the first game that I played, really didn't have a good grasp of it, and I would just put it together and say, okay, well, how much is this worth?
Yeah.
So,
there was a time or two when I was like creating a painting and I was like, oh, this is like great. Like I'm looking at the charts of what I'm making and I know I'm going to get some ribbons. And then it was like 1 or 2. And I'm like, so it could seem like a lot of effort too, for you to just crash out at the end and just be like, oh man, that was not what I thought it was going to be. So that kind of tripped me up a little bit too, but yeah.
So you were one of those people Chris was mentioning.
Yeah, probably. Doesn't understand the ribbons.
I don't want to mention any names.
I'm raising my hand. I'm I'm not afraid to admit that. All right, David, take us over to the collector's corner on Canvas.
Yeah, so right now Canvas is pretty widely available. It's on Amazon. You can buy it at the time of this podcast at $29.99 is what it's going for. And if you look at the used market right now, like on BGG and stuff like that, it's going around $15. I would say maybe you could find somebody that's willing to sell it for like $12, but around $15 what I'm seeing on average used for this kind of game. But yeah, I mean, you do get a lot of cool cards in here, and you know, I think the component quality is pretty good on this game for the price.
All right. Well, final thoughts then on the game, David.
Yeah, I don't know where I sit with this one necessarily. I do think it's a fun activity. I do like bringing it out. I think that, especially like if I play this game with my wife, you know, she's definitely more into, oh, like, look at what I'm doing over here, and you know, there's no time constraints. You know, I can't, you know, force her hand or do anything like that. So if you're looking for a game that, you know, you could have a little cup of tea with, and you can just take your time kind of going through, if that sounds like you and your group, this might be the game for you. I don't know if it's the game for me, but it might be the game for you.
Pete, what do you got?
I like it. I enjoyed playing it. It's not something I'm going to seek out. Again, I would rather go after something that gives me a little bit more points. But I think it's a great game to introduce people to some of the other concepts, like we talked about the other game with, you know, being able to draft cards and how that river works, because there's so many other games that use that river mechanism where you draw a card and everything shifts down. And, you know, the ones that haven't been used get more lucrative and become more valuable. So from a stepping stone, I think it's a great way to introduce people to some of those new mechanics in a light, easy way without getting too complicated in other mechanics that you would maybe in a bigger or heavier game. Chris?
Yeah, I think that despite some of the flaws that you guys have touched on, I think this is a game worth owning. Not every game with transparent cards is good. David and I talked about one we just did not like at all a few episodes ago. But this one, I think, takes... You don't see card stacking very often. And this is a game that I think takes a mechanism that is very, very underused and implements it very, very well. And so from the standpoint of having a game that is pretty unique in your collection compared to the other games, I think it makes sense to have. Even if it's more of an activity than a game, I think it's a pretty good activity.
I mean, maybe we should have battled this off against Word Garden. No, just
maybe. Maybe.
Oh, man, it could have been ugly. No. I think overall, final thoughts for me would be, I understand everybody's views on this. I think you do, to everybody's point, you got to find the right people to play this with and understand the audience with this. It's hard for me to say to not pick up this game, again, because the components are just really amazing and thought out. I could see me playing this actually like with my mom. Same thing with what you were saying, David, about your wife. Puzzly people, kind of putting things together. Your wife loves puzzles just like I do. My mom loves Scrabble and putting and fitting things together and kind of seeing how that works. I know we played Word Garden with her too, Chris, before. So I can see this being for some people, but not for everybody. And I think that's okay. Well, guys, sniffing all this paint is getting me lightheaded. Let's head on over to today's Battle of the Funnest.
All right, everyone, the moment of truth has arrived. It's time to separate the men from the boys, the games from the toys. We're pitting these games head-to-head against each other in the ultimate face-off. In one corner, weighing in at 1.71 out of 5, with an overall BGG rating of 7.6. Brought to life in 2017, somewhere along the Spice Road. Never a dud despite being made of mud. The gem juggernaut, the captain of the Clay Clan, the stunning stone standard bearer, Century Golem Edition. In the other corner, weighing in at 1.72 out of 5, with an overall BGG rating of 7.2. Joining the landscape in 2021, spreading acrylics and latex like Bob Ross at his apex, the composition tactician, the watercolor bestseller, the bold-faced, oil-based, with no waste or aftertaste, Canvas. And now, let's see which game brushes away the competition in today's Battle of the Funnest Showdown. All right, guys, remember how this works? We're going to evaluate these games head-to-head in 5 different categories: theme and production, mechanisms, value for your time, replayability, and the fun factor. The game that gets the most votes wins each category, and the game that wins the most categories takes the prize in our Battle of the Funnest. So let's breathe some life into this battle, starting with theme and production. Daniela.
All right, theme and production, no contest here for me. It's going to be Canvas just because of the way, again, those clear cards work and kind of the setup and production is just really just lovely. David.
Yeah, I would say, for gateway games, both of these games have really good production values for something that, non-gamer is going to maybe see for the first time. I think almost any other game I would pick Century Golem, but Canvas, to be recognized without even having the name on the box, the cool cards inside of it, I'm going to have to go with Canvas for this one and theme and production. You actually feel like a painter, so for that reason, I'm going that route. I'm going to kick it over to Pete.
Theme for me, there is none in Century. In Canvas, there definitely is more of a theme where you're creating it. Production-wise, I do give the edge out to Canvas as well. They both have good production, as David pointed out. I'd be happy with the production value alone in either of these. There's nothing I would complain about in either one of those. But Canvas, for me, is just going to edge it out, mostly because of theme, but also with a little nod to production. Chris.
Yeah, I mentioned it before. The theme in my mind for Century Golem is dumb. The theme for Canvas isn't necessarily anything special, but it works. Production's okay for both. The transparent cards are cool in Canvas. Everything else is basically just cardboard. But by virtue of the theme not being dumb, it's Canvas for me. So Canvas sweeps theme and production 4-0. We move on to mechanisms. I'll go to Pete.
Yeah, at first I had Canvas down for mechanisms, but as we were talking about the mechanisms of Century Spice with, the bidding and the engine building, I was kind of going back and forth. But I think I'm still going to stick with Canvas just because of the mechanics are very, very the same. But I just like the clear cards. I think from that mechanism of having to make some decisions on which card you're drafting and the order that you're going to put them in just elevates it a little bit more than it does in Century. So I'm going to go with Canvas for mechanics. Daniela.
That was funny. I was going to go with Canvas, but I'm going to stay with Canvas. Peter, hilarious. So for mechanisms here, I'm actually going to go with Century Golem. I like just the simplicity of it. I think the trading of the gems, the stacking the cards, the trade, the draft, all that stuff just works a little bit cleaner for me. I might have to get some more plays of Canvas in, and that's fine. But for today, I'm going to go with Century. David.
Yeah, I ditto you on that one as well. I'm going to go with Century Golem on this one as well. I do think that when I'm teaching both of these games to newer people, I feel like the mechanics that I can teach them with Century Golem are just a little bit better, and they're a little bit more crisp, and they're a little bit faster, which I always like. And I feel like it's a better jumping off point when I try to get them into something more complicated. Where Canvas, even though you're layering cards, you're not going to really see that in a lot of games. And so therefore, that mechanic, although it's cool, doesn't really fall into what I'm looking for when I'm trying to teach people games to take them to the next level. I'm going to give it over to Chris.
Yeah, Century Golem's mechanisms, they're relatively simple, but they are really, really well done. Well done. They're not dumb. But they are really, really well done. I'll call them clean. Canvas's mechanisms are also relatively straightforward. The stacking of transparent cards, to me, it's relatively unique. I love the cards. Canvas does it incredibly well. This is Canvas for me, which means we have a 2-2 tie. We break our tie with our fifth meeple, who plays with us but doesn't stay with us when we go to record. That's Dave, and Pete has Dave's answers.
All right, well, I just opened his email, and his response for mechanisms is, I like how Century Golem uses the mechanisms better. You could trade current resources to change direction, and it was more flexible when selecting actions.
All right, so by tiebreaker, Century takes mechanisms. We go to value for your time. I'll start with David.
Yeah, value for my time. I'm looking through my plays on both of these games. They seem to be right around 30 minutes. Sometimes Century Golem's a little bit faster. It seems like around 20-ish minutes. I could see it. But overall, when I just look for what I'm getting out of the games, I'm a fast person in life. I'm always on the go. And so Century Golem to me just fits kind of my speed. When I feel like I'm playing Canvas, I do feel like I'm relaxed, but I'm like way too slow. I don't know. To me, I'm just like, come on, let's get this game moving. So that's kind of where I fall at it. So take that opinion for what you will, but my vote will be for Century Golem. I am going to pass this over to Chris.
Yeah, as you mentioned, both of these games are relatively quick. What I'm looking for here is what gives me a different experience compared to what I can get elsewhere, but that also I enjoy at the same time, and it does it well. For me, that's Canvas again. That's my choice. I'll go to Pete.
Yeah, do I have to choose between the two?
That's where I'm sitting too, Pete.
Yeah. Well,
maybe for different reasons. I'm curious.
This time I am going to go with Century Spice.
Golem.
Golem. Yes. Just because to me it feels a little bit more of a game than the activity that we talked about. And if I had to choose between the two, I think I'd rather play that. Number one, it is a little bit faster. And quite honestly, I don't know that I have to think as hard. I don't necessarily love the puzzle aspect of games, but I can play them when I need to. Daniela.
All right, better get what's-his-face's stuff up. So I'm going to go with Canvas here, really, because when we were playing it, it was 15, 16 minutes, and I do feel like Golem takes longer. I don't know why it is, and maybe it's because I've played with a lot of new people in more recent games, but for me, it did feel like long and daunting and drawn out. And again, maybe that has to be dialed in with player counts and things like that, but I don't know. For me, Canvas seemed like a good in and out, and it was a good, relaxing game. 30 minutes, we played 2 games, and yeah, satisfied.
Yeah, Canvas also has a specific, you're only going to take so many times around the table.
Yes.
And so that might be part of it too. If people are trying to milk things out, Century can drag on forever.
I was Pete. I was forcing the end game.
Yeah, you were. All right, so we got a 2-2 tie again. We go to Dave for a tiebreaker on value for your time.
Okay, for value, Dave says, I enjoyed creating the paintings in Canvas. Creation names were also fun to read afterwards.
All right, so this time Canvas wins the tie, takes a 2-1 lead in categories. We go to replayability. I'll start. Century Golem got pretty samey for me, relatively fast. I think there's much less potential for that in Canvas. Just all the different combinations of scoring and cards, etc. It's something I'd be looking to play a lot, and I don't think would get old. As a result, it's Canvas again for me. I'll go to David.
I'm going to go against that. I'm going to go with Century Golem on this one, just by how many times I've actually played these games. So, I'm always willing to get Century Golem to the table. Canvas, I really have to look for that right crowd. It's not always something that I'm pulling out of my toolbox. So, for that reason, I'm going to go with Century Golem. I'm going to kick it over to Daniela.
I think for replayability, from what I've seen so far, I can understand that the paintings, yes, they give you different things every single time. But for that, do I want to play that quick game? I don't know. I think with Century Golem, it is a little bit more involved, which I think I'm looking for in games a little bit more, but I don't know. It depends on the day. Is there a cloud in the sky? Is there not? Who knows? I'm going to go with Golem. Pete.
I'm going to go with Century Golem as well. The straight up engine building of it, the resource exchange, I think the way that the card market comes out is a little bit better, especially if we're talking, both of these require, I think, more than 2 players to get a better game out of it, a better experience on both of these. And I think with Century, you're going to be playing against players a little bit more than you would be with Canvas. As we said, it's more heads down and you're just doing your own little thing. So I always mention that I do like some interaction in my games, and I think I get that a little bit more with Century Golem Edition.
All right, so 3-1 Century wins replayability. We're sitting at 2-2. We will break that tie with the fun factor, and I will start back at Daniela.
I think, considering, I mean, again, I like this word that David used for Canvas, cozy, but for fun, I think I personally enjoy Century Golem more. I really do I like the cards, I like the gem, I like the trading, I like the straightforwardness of it all. That's what I would probably sit at first at a gaming table. David.
Yeah, so for a fun factor, I always look for big moments in games. Both of these bring something different. I do like going over at the end all my different paintings and the names of them with everybody at the table. But when it comes to fun, I just have more standout moments with Century Golem. The fact that you can be clever and think somebody else has beat you to a card, but maybe you have a card up your sleeve that they can't remember, and you could switch your gems right before them and hear them kind of say some inappropriate language across the table when they realize they got beat. I just find fun, and I guess in people's pain. So I'm going to go with Century Golem on this one. I do like that racing aspect of it and just cutting somebody else off when, they realize it and they're like, oh, crap, I'm not going to get that 20-pointer. Going over to Pete.
Yeah, I'm going to say that for me personally, I don't feel that either of these are super fun. I will play them. If I have to choose, though, I think I'm going to go with Century Golem as well. Again, because I enjoy that interaction, and I think you get that more in Century Golem.
All right, I'm going to keep my pattern. I'm going to stick with Canvas. I don't know that I call Century Golem fun. It's okay. It's just a bit too straightforward for me where I'm at right now. I think it's great and a very fun game for someone starting it out, though, and still a great choice. Again, Canvas isn't necessarily a hootin' and hollerin' time. There's less frustration for me, and just stacking those cards, announcing your painting, that's a fun moment for me. So I'm going with Canvas. It doesn't matter. Century wins the fun factor, which means with a score of 3-2, Century Golem Edition comes to life and wins today's Battle of the Funnest.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of yet another episode of the Fifth Meeple Board Game Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussion, and if you'd like to get in touch, just email us at thefifthmeeple@gmail.com or reach out to us on our social media. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, remember, if you paint people with a broad brush, you're going to miss the fine details. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Adios, amigos.
Today we look at 2 getaway games that, oh my God.
Spreading acrylics and latex like Bob Ross at his bait. Jeez Louise. Which means Canvas takes theme and production in a...
Sweet.
Why can I not think of the words?
Sweet. Put that on a canvas, Pete.